Hello and welcome to another historic video. Today we're checking out this mono-white equipment deck, which got a bunch of recent upgrades through the Arena Anthology expansions, and the most recent one introduced a bunch of these living weapon equipment. We've got Batterskull, a classic, alongside Caldra Complete. So these both come attached to a 0/0 germ token, which essentially gives us a creature that can attack and block without needing to be equipped to anything else first. In the case of Caldra Complete, it's a 5/5 with first strike, trample, indestructible, haste, and whenever it deals combat damage to a creature, exile that creature. So that's also very good in conjunction with first strike. And then the Caldra Complete itself is also indestructible. If we do want to move it around afterwards, it will cost us 7 mana, so ideally we can keep the germ token equipped. And then there's Batterskull, another classic from Magic. A 5 mana living weapon equipment essentially gives us a 4/4 with Vigilance and Lifelink, and for 3 mana we can also return Batterskull back to our hand. Maybe if our opponent does manage to remove all our creatures, including the germ token, we can still pick up Batterskull, redeploy it, and then once again have a 4/4 creature that's already equipped. And both of these living weapon equipment, of course, are quite pricey, but we can get around that expensive cost thanks to Stoneforge Mystic, a 2 mana creature that can search up whatever equipment card we want and put it into our hand, and then for just 2 mana we can tap and activate Stoneforge Mystic to put an equipment card from our hand onto the battlefield. So that's how we can get a very nice Batterskull or Caldra Complete onto the battlefield at a discount. And then we've got more ways to tutor up these various equipment using Cloud. Does not have the Stoneforge's ability to put those into play, so it's not quite as good with the living weapons, but it's still very nice to be able to find whatever equipment we want. And if Cloud is equipped, if an ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it would trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So Cloud is particularly synergistic with the various swords that grant protection and have an ability if we hit the opponent, since those abilities will trigger twice if we attach them to Cloud. And I'm playing 2 different swords today. We've got the Sword of Fire and Ice, which has been on Arena for a while, and then the more recent addition, Sword of Feast and Famine. This one giving +2/+2, protection from black and from green, and if we hit the opponent with our equipped creature, they have to discard a card, and we get to untap all lands we control, which then makes it easier to deploy the rest of our hand. Sword of Fire and Ice is pro-blue and pro-red, very good against any of the blue-red wizard decks especially, and then if we hit the opponent we get to draw a card and deal 2 damage to any target. So with Cloud that could be draw 2 cards and deal 4 damage, which is also pretty sweet. Could play a sword that grants protection from white in the matchups where we need it, but the white protection swords aren't quite as powerful as Fire and Ice and Feast and Famine, and they are still kind of expensive to get down if we can't equip them for free, so that's why I'm kind of limiting the amount of swords in the deck, but you can definitely go wild and include a few more of them. And then our other equipment include a Lion Sash, which is pretty important against any graveyard combo decks, as we can now reliably search it up with our Stoneforge and Cloud, and then a 2 mana 1/1 creature that for white mana can exile a card from a graveyard. If it's a permanent, we also get a +1/+1 counter. Can also attach Lion Sash to one of our creatures with a reconfigure ability, or if we can maybe equip it some other way for free, which we'll get to in a second. So that can also come up and maybe protect the Lion Sash from an opposing removal spell, as they'll first need to deal with the equipped creature before they can target the Lion Sash as a creature. Then Shadow Spear gives +1/+1, trample, and lifelink, which is great in conjunction with Colossus Hammer, which gives our equipped creature +10/+10, makes it loose flying. Normally costs 8 mana to equip, so that's never going to happen. So we need to get around that equip cost somehow, and that's where Sigarda's Aid will come in handy, letting us play our equipment at instant speed, and then letting us attach our equipment to one of our creatures for free. So then we can flash in our hammer as early as turn 2 and start beating down for a ton of damage. And then once the opponent presents a few chum blockers, which can easily happen, it's useful to have the trample from Shadow Spear to cheaply get past them. And then rounding out the deck, we also have 2 copies of Kemba, which is another way to maybe suit up our Colossus Hammer for free. Can play Hammer turn 1, play Kemba turn 2, immediately attach it, and end up with a 13/13 Kemba, which is also pretty good. Then Mother of Runes has also been an amazing addition for any white creature deck, especially this equipment style of deck, where we're often going all in on one creature, so then we don't want our opponent easily removing the creature we're trying to equip. Mother of Runes, once we get it in play and get to untap with it, can not only protect our other creatures, but can also protect itself, so our opponent will need lots of instant speed removal to get past it. And then there's Esper Sentinel, which is also pretty good if we can suit it up, as increasing its power will also increase the tax our opponent needs to pay whenever they cast a non-creature spell, otherwise we get to draw a card. And then we've got a few cheap removal spells. Portable Hole can also maybe deal with opposing enchantments, artifacts, or planeswalkers that have mana value 2 or less, whereas a Lay Down Arms only exiles creatures, but this can also maybe exile a 3-mana creature like Lurrus, which you can often see as a companion, so that's the upside over playing additional copies of Seam Rip, which is essentially an additional Portable Hole if you want access to it. And then the mana base needs access to lots of planes to enable Lay Down Arms, and an Eiganjo which can maybe be channeled for additional damage. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the play, facing a Lurrus variant with Mother Runes into Cloud. So then we can protect our creatures and then hopefully find a relevant equipment, one of the swords perhaps. Get some removal, and Lurrus decks will present some creatures. They seem to be on an energy variant, so hopefully they can't remove Mother of Runes right away. They can with a Chain Lightning, so this might be more of a burn deck after all. Stoneforge Mystic, a good draw. So could immediately play Stoneforge, get Kaldra Complete, forcing them to remove the Stoneforge right away, but then we're going to be stuck with an expensive Kaldra Complete in hand. So I might be better off getting like a Batter Skull. Or I could play Cloud, get Shadow Spear. But I kind of want to put pressure on them to have to remove the Stoneforge. Sword of Fire and Ice, also reasonable, can still hardcast it. But I think Batter Skull is a good middle ground. We already have 3 lands. And I'm more concerned about running out of creatures. And at least Batter Skull can be returned to hand, so we can once again make a Germ token. But if they don't remove Stoneforge now, we'll get a 4/4 in play, so they have to Chain Lightning once again. And a Bolt Wave puts us to 17. I drew the sword. So yeah, we could just cast it now, and then if I draw land, I can play Cloud and Equip, give it protection from red going forward. That seems reasonable. Opponent's got a Roiling Vortex. Can prevent us from gaining a life as long as they keep up a red mana. So that is pretty good, although we have Portable Hole to answer it. So I think we once again could consider Stoneforge, although at this point maybe we lead with Cloud. And then I can get Shadow Spear, since we can Portable Hole the Vortex. Make them use removal on Cloud because of the threat of a Sword of Fire and Ice. Lion's Ash also an option if we just want an extra creature. But I'll go for Shadow Spear, and then we can run it out now. Opponent's gonna have to remove Cloud. And then hopefully we can hit a few more land drops for Batter Skull as well. It's gonna be a Static Discharge. The next one is 4 damage. Bolt Wave us to 13. Alright, land is good, so now I'm gonna Stoneforge. Could get a Colossus Hammer on the off chance that we draw our Sigarda's Aid. Or I can go for what else makes sense. Feast and Famine could be fun. Lion's Sash if we just want an extra threat. Also makes sense. But I will immediately equip Fire and Ice, so they cannot remove my Stoneforge with their burn spells anymore. And then next turn I could either attack or activate Stoneforge to put in Batter Skull. And drew the Colossus Hammer. Okay, so how do we want to proceed? Putting in Batter Skull still seems like the correct play. So then I want to Portable Hole the Vortex now. Opponent's going to activate it. A little bit short of equipping Shadow Spear. So yeah, we'll just pass. Can put in Batter Skull at instant speed. Opponent's gonna put us to 8. So I guess if they go double Boros Charm, we die. They also need a land. Alright, discharge is 4 damage, put us to 4, so now a land borrows charm or another discharge would do it. Skewer the critics puts us to 1. But now our life total is going to climb. Equip Shadow Spear to Stoneforge. Smash. And gain 8. Deal 2 damage, draw card. And then I can still play Sentinel. Could even lay on arms my own creature to gain 3, but with us at 9, I don't think there's a combination of cards that can win them the game. Another discharge, I guess, is 5 damage. Plus another Skewer the Critics would only be 8 total. So yeah, I think we're safe. Alright, and our opponent scoops it up. Awesome. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a reasonable hand. Stoneforge hopefully gets to cheat in some of our living weapons. Facing blue-red, looting, so it is a graveyard combo deck. So then we just need to get our Lion Sash as soon as possible. Well, we drew it, so I can play it turn 2, activate turn 3. Not a huge difference between searching it up and then playing and activating turn 3. So I don't even know if I want to show them the Lion Sash. Could just go Stoneforge Mystic, get Kaldra Complete, for instance, and then Stoneforge can also put in the Lion Sash at instant speed to maybe catch them off guard. Could also get Colossus Hammer, I suppose, since we have Kemba as a fast win condition. But if I played Lion Sash, I would not have the mana to exile anything before our opponent gets to untap. So just gotta hope they don't combo this turn. Another looting, maybe they're just missing black mana. Because if they can persist, bring back Scholar, they get a free Emergent Ultimatum, and it's probably game over. And yeah, still no black mana, so we might be saved here. Now it's still good if we force them to cast a reanimation spell and get to exile their thing in response. So yeah, that means I can't do anything here. Worst case scenario, I can always put in a different equipment. See, Expropriate end up in the graveyard. Their black mana now enters tapped. Alright, so next turn they're gonna combo, so I can still wait on Lion Sash. And for now, put in... Yeah, this is a little awkward. I guess I can go Feast and Famine, which can untap my lands. And then I can still play the Lion Sash afterwards. Although it's a bit risky for opponent is holding Izzet Charm to remove my creature in response. Because then we get blown out, I don't get to connect, and then I cannot Lion Sash activate. So I think the safest play is still to pass. Because we know for a fact they're going to try and combo here. Persist. I have a response. Put in Lion Sash. They might still have an Izzet Charm. But at least we'll have wasted their Persist. That works. Get to untap. Alright, so how do we not mess this up now? Keep Lion Sash available at all times. They don't actually have a lot of permanents here, it's all instants and sorcery, so then I cannot get a +1 counter on Lion Sash. But we can start with Feast and Famine. Equip Stoneforge attack with it. Can still play Hammer out as well. So we'll see if there's a response. Our opponent did have an Izzet Charm, as it turns out. Stoneforge down, that's okay. Still have the Lion Sash, and as long as we control Lion Sash, they can't do anything bad. And now the Sash can also grow up to a 3/3. So we'll pass. Cast Looting. So still no creatures. Could exile Starting Town. Only get punished if they have another Izzet Charm in hand. But yeah, opponent throws in the towel. They know they'll never beat a Lion Sash if we're careful. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw, facing a deck with Giganta as companion, so most likely blue-red wizards. So then, still have a keepable hand. Just need to be careful to not expose Cloud to removal, and instead immediately suit it up with a hammer. They could still have some bounce spells. Cloud can also get Sword of Fire and Ice to give pro-blue and pro-red, so that's perfect in this matchup. But yeah, cannot really play Cloud and have them take it out before we can protect it. So then we are playing a turn behind with our opponent on the play with a nice aggressive Symmetry Sage. So yeah, still not a great spot to be in. Best case scenario, just draw another creature. But now I gotta pass. So at least they're not applying meaningful pressure, but maybe they're hanging on to instant speed removal. Plays Arcanist, maybe they can give it haste, they don't. Alright, so I think I gotta go for it. Play Cloud, tutor up Fire and Ice, hope our opponent makes the first move with a burn spell. I can Colossus Hammer in response. If they untap and have multiple instant speed removal spells, our plan sort of falls apart. But I think it's still my best hope. Pretty far from casting a Batterskull. A Lion Sash would give me a backup creature, but I also don't see it going the distance. So our opponent's considering using a removal spell, they don't go for it. Although now with Arcanist, they are incentivized to cast a spell. It's going to be another Symmetry Sage first. Now what we don't have is Lifelink. Could have also gone for a Shadow Spear, which would have been reasonable. And that's a lot of damage coming in. So I'm probably forced to block and Colossus Hammer, and then they can still respond, but nope. Opponent keeps up their interaction. 9, this is 10 damage. Or I can just make the first move here, but I think I gotta untap. Go for Sword, they try and remove, I Colossus Hammer in response. And then we'll see how the dust settles. Late on Arms could be helpful. I guess I could also Feast and Famine, which untaps my lands, so then I can still play more stuff afterwards. And I guess with Cloud we do trigger the Sword twice, so that would be actually 4 damage. So there's a couple things to consider for sure. Making them discard 2 cards down to 1 is pretty good. So then if I maybe late on Arms the Arcanist, they can't cross the finish line anymore. So then step 1, I guess just play the Sword, see what's up. They could still have a bounce spell as opposed to a burn spell, less likely, but still possible. So then I might get punished for going for Feast and Famine first. So go ahead and attack. They could still have a Wizard's Lightning for 3 damage, which we're kind of hoping they cast now. We're making it very tempting. Yep, perfect. Alright, so they fell right into our trap. Now we get to Colossus Hammer, save Cloud from the Wizard's Lightning, and discard their last 2 cards. Untap my lands. Yeah, I suppose going for Sword of Fire and Ice could have just won me the game instead by dealing 4 to their face. So in response to the extra untap trigger, flash in my Sword of Fire and Ice. Make them discard, and now if I lay down arms, the Arcanist, they're not going to trigger the Sage outside of flashing back Reckless Charge, which would only be 9 damage total. So then we should be safe. And then next turn Cloud can cross the finish line pretty easily. But yeah, maybe I got too cute with Feast and Famine when Fire and Ice could have been lethal. But yeah, there we go. Awesome. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Our hand is missing an equipment, mostly Colossus Hammer. Although if I draw Hammer or either Cloud or Stoneforge Mystic, we're good. Yeah, it's not a perfect hand, but I think we can try it. Sentinel also not unreasonable to start out. Got a 1 piece of interaction at least. Our opponent blue-red. And there's Cloud. Cloud gets Hammer. And next turn it's Hammer time. And if they have an instant, we'll draw a card at least. Opponent stifles a trigger, never mind, so... No Hammer, although we can just draw into it, I guess, so that works too. But yeah, Stifle makes sense when they're playing a Lotus Field deck. Once again, we do get to draw a card. And we found another Hammer, so... Our opponent drawing us into 2 hammers now just wins us the game. So that is pretty funny. And there we go, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. We have a full house of Mothers and Hammers. Not a great combination. And this is a bit better. Keep one of the swords. Maybe Fire and Ice. If we're up against Energy, Pro-Red is useful. Although looks a blue-black. So turn 1 Sentinel should be a decent start. We get to draw a card. This is a matchup where we might want to get Batterskull so we don't run out of threats. Although opponent's more of a mill deck, maybe. Casting a free Glimpse, milling for 10. Alright, so might be my last chance to tutor up a certain card before it gets milled. Color Complete's already gone. Could also get Colossus Hammer, and then next turn I can suit it up with Kemba, which is not a terrible plan. Batterskull's going to be pretty slow to cast if they have removal for Stoneforge. Of course, if they have removal for Kemba, the Colossus plan also kind of falls apart. Could also get Lion Sash, which can maybe interfere with some graveyard synergies. Yeah, maybe that's better, although then we're not going to have a particularly fast clock. But it does let me exile their Glimpse before they can recast it. Which is maybe irrelevant enough here. Our deck is pretty vulnerable to Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Because we have pretty low mana values, so they could be running that one as well. Fraying Sanity, doubling the mill effects. Alright, so this says exile target instant or sorcery, so we can respond with Stoneforge. And then still activate Lion Sash. If they don't go for Glimpse, then I can still put in a sword. Sadly, they didn't have to spend the mana yet. So Ashok is next. So I can now put in sword and equip for 2 mana. Not sure how helpful that's going to be here. We have 22 cards remaining. Drawing cards is scary. Still probably makes more sense to actually hit the opponent here. So we'll put in the sword. Equip. Attack my opponent, and then I can deal 2 to Ashok. Drew a Batter Skull, can maybe put that in play. But yeah, I assume we're dead here if our opponent's got any big mill cards remaining. Mesmeric Orb's pretty good too. So my graveyard's gone, and Founding can mill for another 4. Which gets doubled by the Fraying Sanity. So we'll have 5 cards left, and then with the Mesmeric Orb we should be dead here. Alright, GG's. So just a little too slow out of the gates, didn't have our Colossus Hammer combo this time. And there we have it, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a good hand. Got our Sigarda's Aid plus Hammer. Mother of Runes for early protection. Our opponent on some sort of sacrifice combo deck, likely with Samwise and Cauldron Familiar. So there is an argument for just using Lay Down Arms on the Trap Finder before they can sacrifice it to either Goblin Bombardment or the Birthing Ritual. Then I will be a turn behind on attacking with Hammer, but without Trample our opponent can also chump pretty easily. So it's a tough call. I think I still keep my Lay Down Arms for Samwise, but if our opponent does have Goblin Bombardment specifically, I do get punished for just running out my 1/1. So you know what, let's maybe just go Sigarda's Aid and pass, and then next turn I can play Mother, Flash in Hammer at instant speed, so if they try and deal 1 damage we can at least save her. Opponent did have the Birthing Ritual as it turns out, so that's where Lay Down Arms could have worked out. So I need to prioritize exiling Samwise. And there it is. Portable Hole can also answer the Birthing Ritual. So question now is, do I remove both permanents? Or do I try and get my Mother of Runes going? I think it's reasonable to just answer Samwise. Play Mother. If they have Goblin Bombardment, they still need a 1-mana creature to take her out, and then they're not using the Birthing Ritual for a turn. So that seems reasonable to me. There was an argument for using Lay Down Arms over Portable Hole, since Portable Hole can answer the enchantments. But the fact that they're not playing Lurrus implies that they might have some 3-drop in the deck that I need to exile. Otherwise you would typically see Lurrus as companion. Yeah, a Ajani for just 1 mana thanks to the Trap Finder. And a Cauldron Familiar. And an Unlucky Witness. So they can transform a Ajani, but it will get sacrificed end of turn. So that's not a disaster. But they can just sack a Ajani itself if they'd like. Or Cauldron Familiar. So now they're just looking for Samwise, which they did. And then Goblin Bombardment would let them go infinite with Samwise and Cauldron Familiar. I guess never mind. The Ajani does stick around a little bit longer. So yeah, it's gonna be forced to sacrifice in their next end step. So either way, I need to Lay Down Arms Samwise. And then Mother of Runes could try and attack. Flash in some hammers. Although it's possible I'm better off just playing Kemba, putting the hammers there, and then using the protection to attack past their blockers. Opponent did not block Mother of Runes, so I guess they just put themselves dead to double Colossus Hammer now. Yeah, Hammam wielding 2 hammers out of nowhere. And there we have it, sweet. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with Keeper. We've got Sigarda's Aid and Hammer. Stoneforge Mystic can always get an additional creature. Opponent blue-red might be Wizards. Could be a combo deck since they don't have a companion. And Red Horde Arcanist, that one's pretty scary. Definitely worth removing before we deploy Stoneforge. So we can use Portable Hole, keep Late on Arms for later. And then next turn being able to play Stoneforge and maybe flash in a Hammer to protect it from a burn spell is also quite relevant. Already drew Batterskull, so Stoneforge can maybe get our Sword of Fire and Ice. Now a Swiftspear's Teachings to give their next creature prowess and haste. Quite good with the Arcanist, as you can imagine. Alright, hopefully they don't have any counter spells here. That resolves. And opponent's gonna Shanty. I'll try and Hammer. Possible they have another burn spell in response. Alright, that works. A bounce spell could of course still get it. So, couple options here. Opponent's gonna consider. Could just get another Hammer, and then theoretically double Hammer on Stoneforge's lethal next turn. And well, opponent's gonna just concede here on the spot, that's fair. But yeah, I'm curious if getting another Hammers to play, if we still try and go for Fire and Ice, or could even go for Shadow Spear for Trample, and then I can always get another Hammer with a second Stoneforge and potentially present lethal, so had a few interesting options available here. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand, just missing Sigarda's Aids or maybe a Stoneforge Mystic. But got some good 1-drops, some interaction. Start with Mother of Runes, force them to answer it right away. Opponent with a Gilded Goose. So some sort of creature combo deck, most likely. I'm not opposed to removing the Goose. Probably using a Portable Hole to slow them down. There might be some scarier creatures to worry about. Yeah, the main concern is them ramping out like a Collected Company or some 3-drop that I cannot Portable Hole. But maybe I can wait one more turn. So they are 3 colors. And a Guide of Souls, so this energy. That's a better target, I see. So this is the infinite combo deck with Val and the Moon Dancer. So then not having any instant speed removal could hurt us. But we just need to get rid of the combo pieces here. And then hope for the best. For now I can lay down arms or Portable Hole, doesn't matter. I guess I could have some more expensive creatures that we can still lay down arms, but we cannot Portable Hole. And then we'll leave the Guide of Souls in play for now. A Knight Errant with Convoke. Can maybe assemble some more creatures. So probably won't be triggering the Sentinel much. And wow, opponent found both combo pieces, Val and Moondancer. So if they can play both next turn, they go infinite. Unless I lay down arms to guide. But that's also pretty miserable. So yeah, it's not looking good here. Now they still need an untapped land, but it doesn't seem all that unlikely. So yeah, this is the only way I can potentially survive another turn. But yeah, we kind of drew the wrong half of our deck here. Multiple sentinels that didn't do anything. Opponent's not removing my stuff, so Mother Runes isn't useful. And nothing to go with Colossus Hammer. So, it didn't quite work out this time. But in general, creature combo decks are going to be tough. Since we're not necessarily fast enough to win the game before they can assemble their combo, and we're pretty limited in terms of removal. Although I did draw another Lay Down Arms. So the Warden, similar to a live game creature, can also kickstart the combo, so now we're just going to get rid of the Moon Dancer. But yeah, opponent still has plenty of time to draw out of it. And they're also just ahead on board. So there's a Surveyor. Can keep up mana with Goose to make a food. And another Sentinel. It is possible they have Collected Company or Court of Calling, which can then trigger the Sentinel. But if they're casting those, they probably have the infinite combo assembled, so then it doesn't matter if we draw a couple cards. Green Sense for 2. Get Moon Dancer. And that should be game, because they can scry with Warden, which triggers Val, which in turn triggers Moon Dancer, rinse and repeat. And that's game. So there's a scry, trigger Val, which triggers Moon Dancer, which also lets them scry. And that's infinite damage. So we're not going to let our opponent go through all the motions, since there's no real way they can mess this one up. So we're not going to waste everyone's time. GG's. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play with a promising hand. Can go Sentinel, turn to Sigarda's 8, equip Colossus Hammer, start taxing the opponent for 11. Also have the Stoneforge Mystic line available. Yeah, I'm kind of liking the Sigarda's aid, even though our opponent is probably happy to chump. If I go Stoneforge, I can get Kaldra Complete, which isn't bad either. But, yeah, immediately going for Colossus Hammer does put a lot of pressure on them, although this may be weaker in the face of a spot removal spell on Sentinel, although we'll still draw a card off of it. So, let's go for this approach. Next turn I could also Stoneforge Mystic, get something to give the Sentinel trample, like a Shadow Spear. But yeah, opponent's always going to block there. Jad Medallions, it is likely a Nightmare combo deck. Opponent does have a Stitcher Supplier, so I could get another Hammer, but of course our opponent can just chump. So then going for Trample makes sense. And leave my Lay Down Arms in hand for next turn. Could also Stoneforge, get Kaldra Complete. But yeah, I think I want to get in for trample damage right now. There's still an argument for playing Stoneforge first, get Shadow Spear, because then if I draw land I could technically go for Cloud, get Kaldra Complete, put it in play with Stoneforge for 2 mana. But we can probably just get there with a Sentinel. So 1 mana Blood Artist. into an apprentice. That's fine. So they're not quite comboing, and we should be able to trample for lethal here. Can Stoneforge get another hammer? Just to make sure. Alright, sweet. There we go. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with what looks like a keeper. Lots of removal, double Stoneforge. So if one gets removed, maybe the second one can stick around to activate. Although no proactive turn 1 play. Opponent on humans with the Mother Runes. Alright, this is tough. Don't have a third land yet, so this might be my only opportunity to remove Mother Runes before they can protect their stuff. Although I can technically still use 2 removal spells in 1 turn, it's just that one of them will go to waste. But if I get Stoneforge Mystic down, I can maybe get some big finisher, put the opponent under pressure. So it's a tough call. I think I do Portable Hole first, because it's going to be tough to get past the protection otherwise. So there's a multicolor deck. Innkeeper, alright, so this is the combo deck with Moondancer and the new Alchemy card. So can Stoneforge get a win condition? Could also go for Feast and Famine, put the opponent's hand under pressure. Pro green is also relevant. This one, maybe a faster win condition. Don't have a way to equip Hammer for free. Could also go for Fire and Ice to have a bit of removal. So, a couple options here. I think I still go for Caldera Complete for the early pressure. We still have 2 removal spells. Question now is, do I Portable Hole the Innkeeper? It's not the biggest threat. I think I should wait, even though there's a chance they can combo kill me next turn if they have both remaining creatures. But that's a risk I'm willing to take. And they've got another Innkeeper, so glad I didn't bother removing the first one. And then a Gruul Signet, that's fine. So they have plenty of mana. I mean, I could technically remove both Innkeepers, prevent them from going Moondancer into a tutor effect, for instance. But that still feels pretty weak. Even though I could then next turn get a sword and immediately equip it. Alright, that's the only way I can see losing, so maybe that's still fine. Because without that immediate life gain effect, they cannot kickstart their 2-card combo. So now I get to hit for 5. Next turn, Stoneforge can tutor up maybe a Sword of Fire and Ice. Can put it in play, still will have to wait a turn to equip it. Not regretting my decision to remove the Mother Runes right away. Opponent has to pass it back. Maybe a Collected Company incoming. So then it doesn't really matter if I attack first or not. Stoneforge could also grab a Batter Skull, to be fair, so I can put it in play right away. Although I might need the interaction of Fire and Ice. Or the discard from Feast and Famine. Actually, Feast and Famine's not bad when we have so many mana sinks. So I'll just pass. And then next turn we can do a bunch of stuff. Alright, and our opponent scoops it up, so they weren't able to assemble the combo in time before our swords can take over. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. We've got a Keeper Sigarda's 8, Cloud gets Hammer. Could be weak to a discard spell, taking Cloud. Now we've got a Stoneforge for added redundancy. Opponent on Esper colors. So it could be a Reanimator deck. Psychic Frog does point in that direction. So then I might want to get a Lion Sash first chance I get. Could also get one of my living weapons to put in with the Stoneforge, but can also expect a removal spell. So quite a few things to consider. I think going for Lion Sash is reasonable. And then next turn, if they don't remove Cloud, I can still maybe suit up the sword. Psychic Frog is scary, is going to get a hit in, but we can still manage it with a portable hole later. So get my Graveyard Hates. Hopefully we can use it before the opponent can reanimate something, because they could already discard, and then maybe if it's an Oculus, they can get it back for just 1 or 2 mana. But maybe they're going big. With Sigarda's 8, we can even flash our Lion Sash into play at instant speed. So that's pretty useful. Opponent's gonna Strategic Betrayal, exile Cloud, attack, get in for 1. And draw a card. And no third land, so I'm less incentivized to maybe go for Lion Sash now. And instead we can Portable Hole, play Stoneforge. Opponent does get a chance to discard if they want to, but they don't. And then now what to get with the Stoneforge. Could see the benefit of Feast and Famine, since I can equip it, untap my lands if I get to connect. Although of course we can also go for Colossus Hammer since we have Sigarda's Aid. So that would be a fast win condition. But I think in this matchup, with our opponent potentially having removal, I kind of want to ensure that we have protection before we Colossus Hammer, otherwise I'm going to waste that potential, and I'm not going to be able to re-equip all that easily. So if they have removal for Stoneforge, they kind of have to go for it now. Bone Shards discarding an Ashen Rider. So they're trying to reanimate that one, which we can now try and shut down with a Lion Sash. The earliest they can reanimate Ashen Rider in Historic, I mean, I guess for 2 mana they could do it. So then I already have to keep up Lion Sash here. Otherwise, our opponent gets to exile our stuff. Sorin is next, can also put Vampires into play with a -3. And Vona can destroy target non-land, non-token permanent. Goes for Sigarda's Aid. Alright, so I got a Lion Sash now, exile Ashen Rider. And then if I draw a land, I can still maybe play Sigarda's Aid, and then I can still suit up the Sword of Feast and Famine to attack past Vona. We'll see. We did draw the land. So yeah, I'm not hating Feast and Famine with Sigarda's Aid here. And then I kind of have to main phase it so they don't have a chance to block, otherwise they get to soak up an attack, which I want to avoid. So with a pro-black, they cannot block. Gonna go face so we get the trigger. Doesn't trigger off damaging planeswalkers. Opponent's go to discard, we get to untap. Vona is a 5-drop, so I cannot exile it with a laydown arms just yet. And yeah, Vein Ripper, something else I could have put in play with Sorin, which we can now exile with a Lion Sash. So play Stoneforge. And then now I could go for Colossus Hammer. Or we could go for one of our living weapons. Batterskull, we're close to hardcasting it if something bad happens to Stoneforge. Kinda like just going for the hammer, I think. Opponent's at 14, so this could be lethal next turn. Okay, and then pass it back. So they could take out Stoneforge if they use the other plus from Sorin, but of course it makes sense for them to try and gain 5. And a Toxic Deluge for 4. They should have gone for more, because now I still get to grow the Lion Sash. Can also exile my own stuff. Just needs to be a permanent to get a +1 counter. And our opponent scoops it up, so a Lion Sash or MVP against all these graveyard combo decks. And we got to rank up, and sure, let's subscribe to the channel. Alright, so we got to see this mono-white equipment deck in action, and I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. Of course, there's a lot of ways you can configure a deck like this. Since we have this entire toolbox of equipment we can consistently search up with Cloud and Stoneforge Mystic. Once we have access to Umezawa's Jite, which at the time that this video goes live you should have access to it, that's another card I would strongly consider, maybe removing one of the 2 living weapons, and I'm not actually sure which one's better, since the lifelink on Batterskull can be a lifesaver. So yeah, definitely some interesting decisions, and when it comes to the gameplay, of course you have those quick wins with Colossus Hammer and Sigarda's Aid, but in the grindier matchups it's a lot of fun to be able to activate your Stoneforge and be tricky with putting things into play at instant speed, like we saw with a Lion Sash, so it's a pretty enjoyable gameplay experience as well. But for now, I want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.